I shall now make a statement in my capacity as a representative of the Russian Federation. We would like to thank the Special Envoy of the Secretary General, Mr. Grunberg, and the Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Mr. Martin Griffiths, for their overview of the political humanitarian situation in Yemen. We continue monitoring very carefully the hostilities in Yemen, including in the governorates of Marib and Shabwa, which are becoming increasingly ferocious and result in a growing number of civilian victims, refugees, and IDPs. We are seriously concerned by the continuous attacks against the civilian infrastructure, both in Yemen and beyond, in Saudi Arabia and in the United Arab Emirates. We are convinced that such attempts to shift the hostilities from Yemen to the territory of neighboring states are fraught with further escalation of violence. At the same time, we must acknowledge that the return of strikes and the related to that violations of international humanitarian law are a direct consequence of a protracted and almost 7-year-old severe military and political crisis, and its fresh escalation creates a genuine threat for regional security. In this regard, we urge the warring parties to strictly follow the international humanitarian law, to immediately and fully reject hostilities as they result in the destruction of civilian infrastructure and civilian victims. We are extremely concerned by the growth in the number of such incidents recently. We, on our side, intend to continue actively urging the official Yemeni authorities and the leadership of Ansar Allah to display, when they consider their differences, a constructive approach and to show readiness to compromise. We see the ultimate goal here in a comprehensive and lasting settlement of many issues which Yemen is encountering and which are also appreciably felt by neighboring states. The central role in this process traditionally belongs to the UN and the Special Envoy for Yemen, Mr. Grunberg, who on the 26th of November last year was hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia. We support UN mediation activity, Hans, and we expect that very shortly you will develop specific modalities for the roadmap for the settlement, which will be inclusive in nature and which will be based on the principles on taking into account the opinions of all of the elements of the Yemeni society, representatives of all confessions, political forces, and regions in the country. In this regard, we support your plans to conduct consultations on the new framework parameters for the settlement with all interested Yemeni stakeholders. Against the background of the impasse in the political settlement, we are particularly concerned by the very dire socio-economic and humanitarian situation in Yemen, which has been for a long time teetering on the brink of disaster. As we have said today, it applies to the entire territory of the country, regardless of who is in control. Not one single area of the country can be called safe from the viewpoint of sustainable food and medical supplies. And in this regard, we would like to yet once again recall for all parties of the country that they need to provide unimpeded humanitarian access to all in need, that they need to lift sea, land, and air blockade of the country, and also rescind all limitations on the deliveries of foodstuffs, medicines, and other basic necessities to all areas of the country without exception. In conclusion, I'd like to emphasize that the conflict in Yemen has a general regional dimension, including the issue of the safety of navigation. And I would also like to recall the Security Council Resolution 598 and other initiatives, including the Russian concept of collective security, aimed at stabilizing the situation in the entire Persian Gulf region. I thank you for your attention. I now resume my function as President of the Council.